Lesson 36, Comparing Fractions with Exponents. Here's part 1. Students will follow along with their instructor. They're going to expand, then evaluate. Also, notice the patterns from row to row. In row 1, the number 1 is raised to the second, third, and fourth powers. In row 2, a number greater than 1 is raised to the second, third, and fourth powers. In row 3, a fraction is raised to the second, third, and fourth powers. And finally, in row 4, the number 0 is raised to the second, third, and fourth powers. Let's go over what students' work should look like, and we'll start with row 1. In this row, we had the number 1 raised to the second, third, and fourth powers. And you'll notice that we always ended up with an answer of 1. Here's the second row. In the second row, we use the base of 2 because 2 is a number greater than 1, just like it says here. Here's 2 to the second power, 2 to the third power, and 2 to the fourth power. And our answers were 4, 8, and 16. And notice how exponents can cause numbers to become very large very quickly. Take a look at row 3. Here we use 1/2 as a base because 1/2 is a fraction, just like it says here. So here's 1/2 to the second power, 1/2 to the third power, and 1/2 to the fourth power. Just like we saw in lesson 3, our answers were 1/4, 1/8, and 1/16. And notice how when you use exponents, numbers can become very small very quickly. Here's the fourth row. 0 to the second power equals 0, 0 to the third power equals 0, and 0 to the fourth power equals 0. Be careful with this row because 0 to the 0 power equals 1, just like we learned in previous lessons. Here's part 2. Use the symbols greater than, less than, or equal to compare by inspection. So we're going to come up with the answer just by looking at it. Take a look at box M. Here's 1/8 to the third power versus 1/8 to the second power. And notice that they're using the same base. They're both using the fraction 1/8. And as we saw earlier, when you take a fraction and you raise it to a higher power, you end up with a smaller number. So 1/8 to the third power is going to be less than 1/8 to the second power. Let's try box O together. Here we have 3/5 to the fifth power versus 3/5 to the ninth power. And notice that they're using the same base. They're using the fraction 3/5. And as we saw earlier, when you take a fraction and you raise it to a higher power, you end up with a smaller number. So comparing these two, which one will be the smaller number? And we know that 3/5 to the ninth power will be the smaller number. This will be the larger number. So 3/5 to the fifth power is greater than 3/5 to the ninth power. Here's box Q. Here's a hint. It says, simplify the fraction first. So here's 6/3 to the second power versus 6/3 to the third power. So let's simplify 6/3. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So this is the same as 2 to the second power. And this is the same as 2 to the third power. And we know that 2 to the second power is less than 2 to the third power. So 6/3 to the second power is less than 6/3 to the third power. Let's take a closer look at that problem. Both of these numbers have a base of 2, which is greater than 1. And if you take a number greater than 1 and you raise it to a higher power, it gives you a larger number. So 2 to the third power is a larger number. 2 to the second power is a smaller number. That's why 2 to the second power is less than 2 to the third power. And we can verify that 2 to the second power equals 4, 2 to the third power equals 8, and 4 is less than 8. Here's box R. Here's your hint. It says, convert to a mixed number first. So here we have 3 halves to the second power versus 3 halves to the third power. And let's convert 3 halves to a mixed number first. 3 halves is the same as 1 1/2. So here we have 1 1/2 to the second power versus 1 1/2 to the third power. Notice how they have the same base of 1 1/2, which is greater than 1. And if you take a number greater than 1 and you raise it to a higher power, you end up with a larger number. So this is the larger number, and this is the smaller number. 1 1/2 to the second power is less than 1 1/2 to the third power. Therefore, 3 halves to the second power is less than 3 halves to the third power.